Mr. Goldberg, thank you for joining us today on Red Devil Postgame. So you played basketball growing up, but now you lead one of the major art organizations in Memphis. So tell me, have you thought that sports and arts can comply together?
Well, thank you so much for having me here today. Yeah, growing up, I loved the arts and I loved sports, and I just kind of loved them at the same time. If you know the show Glee, I think his name was Finn, maybe?
It's not a problem for me, man. Actually, it's a big problem.
You know, he's an athlete and sports, and you know, I was on the varsity basketball team in high school, but I was almost an art major in college, but was a music major. I got a degree in music composition, but was a singer. So yeah, I've had both in my life, all my life.
So do you consider, in your opinion, do you consider ballet dancers as athletes? Why or why not?
Absolutely. I mean, they are what we like to say are artist athletes, because they are creating beautiful motion with their bodies, and what they do, they make it look easy, but it's very challenging and difficult. And just like in professional sports, they can have injuries, they may require surgeries, and as well, they have to practice every day, they have to warm up every day, and as well, they also can sort of what we say is age out. You know, athletes don't, you know, LeBron James is a very special athlete, but most basketball players don't play into their 40s. And it's the same thing with ballet dancers.
Well, you know, you are very inspired, and as you know, you're very proud of that you hold Michael Jordan tickets.
Yes.
So can you give us some insight on those tickets?
Absolutely. So growing up, my father was a season ticket holder of the Chicago Bulls for 25 years. He split tickets with two buddies, and so I was lucky if I got to go to 3 to 4 games a year growing up. And I just collected things. And about 10 years ago, I had this crazy idea to try to collect a ticket stub from every game that Michael Jordan played in, which is 1,264 NBA games. And I'm currently at nearly 90% in the collection.
That is great to hear. That is so great to hear. So you also said every ticket holds a story. Can you give us insight on one of those tickets that you have in your hands right
Yes, I will. 1996, home game E in Chicago, it was an elimination game, the Chicago Bulls versus the New York Knicks. Towards the end of the game, Michael Jordan hits a three-pointer, which puts the game just enough out of reach to say, this series is over. As Michael Jordan is backpedaling to go on defense, he sees his buddy Spike Lee, who he had done some commercials with throughout the years, and just waves bye-bye to him because he's a big Knicks fan.
Jordan. Jordan just looked over at Spike Lee and waved bye-bye. Watch this now. As he backs up.
See you later, Spike, he says. See you in the next Nike commercial.
That game has a story in there where, you know, he's waved bye-bye, sort of taunting his good friend. Well, I had a good chance, or opportunity last summer to meet Spike Lee at a sports collectors convention where he was autographing things, and I got him to sign that ticket. And so that's what this ticket is. So this is a ticket from that game where they eliminated the Knicks and Michael Jordan waved bye-bye. And it says it right there on the label, MJ waves bye-bye to Spike Lee. And you can see that it's a beautiful signature on there. So anyway, these are fun little stories. It wasn't just a Jordan game, it wasn't just a win, but there's this little nuance and story that happened within the context of the game.
That's great. So what would you tell athletes who also have love for the arts, but and artists, but who are not afraid? Like, what advice would you give them?
For athletes to try the arts, I think that we're probably all artists in some way. Like, we've all danced at a party. We've all been creative, you know, in some way. Sometimes we doodle, you know, on the notepad or on our computers. Sometimes we enjoy art, you know, but we're not always creators of art. And that can be okay too, to just enjoy the art, whether it's visual or dancing or go to, you know, watch someone else do it. But if you want to participate, you just have to start somewhere, and it's okay. I mean, I did it and I loved it. and I just enjoyed it. And you know, there might have been some folks who thought, that's a little odd. I thought you were just an athlete, or you know, why are you doing singing now? And I kind of didn't care what they thought. You know, I just loved it, and I'm so happy that I did.
That's great. So what advice do you give to young athletes who are also balancing sports and arts in their life?
Keep doing it. Just find a way to have them both in your life. You know, athletics are great, not just because they're fun, they're good for health. And so is music and the arts. I mean, there's a lot of studies about that as well, that it's really good for your brain, and I think it's good for life balance. You know, eventually you go on to college, you go to your professional careers, and it's, you know, for the majority of people, it's not going to be as an artist. For the majority of people, it's not going to be as a professional athlete. But isn't it great that you have that knowledge base and that enjoyment in your life, and you're going to want that for balance, you know, to just sort of balance out the stress of a career or life.
Well, Ms. Goldberg, this was a very insightful interview, and you also inspired me in today's interview. I thank you so much for joining us on Radio Postgame.
Thank you so much for having me.